Okay, finally it's time for the very last part of lesson 11B. We are actually in lesson 11B.2 right now, and as of this point you should have already completed this, that is exercise 11B.1 all, and exercise 11B.2 numbers 1 through 2. You should have completed all of this already. If you have not, then you need to go do that. I don't want you to learn too much material without having practiced the previous material, because it kind of builds. It kind of gets more difficult as you go. So make sure that you're prepared before you move on to this very last lesson. So example 8 is on page 222, and it says simplify by factorizing. So these are the cool ones. I love these because stuff goes away. It's really nice. You'll see it's kind of fun because stuff just goes bye-bye and you don't have to worry about it. It makes life very easy. You'd be surprised. Sometimes I've seen the answer be something as simple as 1 when you cross cancel everything. Okay, so how you do this is you are going to factor the top and or the bottom. Sometimes you can factorize the top and the bottom, sometimes just the top, and sometimes just the bottom. But you should factorize what you can. So let's start with A. On the top of the fraction, I can factor off an x. So when I do that, when I factor off an x, I'm left with x minus 3. Notice, again, you should be able to distribute this x back in to get this. This was from the previous chapter. And at the bottom, this x right here, we can't factor x. So now we're going to cross cancel, and we are left with only x minus 3. My fraction's gone. The fraction won't always be gone, but in this case it is, because this bottom is gone, so there's no more fraction, and that's really good. It's always good when the fraction goes away. Jason, can you turn that oven off, please? Or turn the timer off? And then on part B, let's see, we can actually factor the top and the bottom. So at the top, we can factor off a 2x. When we factor off a 2x from the top, we're left with, from this term, we're left with one of those x's. And from this term, we're just left with plus 2. And then at the bottom, we can factor off an x. We're left with, from this term, we're left with one of those x's. And then from this term, we're left with the plus 2. Oh, that's awful convenient, isn't it? You'll see a lot of times it works out to be pretty convenient. It's very common to see something like this. We're going to cross cancel those two, and we're going to cross cancel these x's. Isn't that just dandy? We're left with just 2. See? I told you sometimes the answer is just 1 or something crazy like that. So it's really interesting how this works sometimes. This algebra stuff is pretty cool. You'll find when you get into some of the upper level maths, there's some other really cool stuff as well. So really, if you follow along and you get to be pretty good at math, you'll find some of this stuff is pretty cool. At least I think so anyway. I don't know, y'all might be thinking right now, this is not cool at all. Well, I think it is, but anyway. Next page. We're going to do example 9, which is kind of more of the same. Just a little bit more difficult factorizing. Just a tad bit more difficult. Okay, again, we're going to simplify. It didn't say simplify by factorizing, but that's always presumed. They said simplify by factorizing in the previous example, but in reality, most of the time, they're just going to say simplify. They're not going to say simplify by factorizing. They usually won't do that. You just have to, the by factorizing part is going to be like assumed. You just have to always like say, okay, if it's asked me to simplify and it's an algebraic fraction, the very first thing you should do is attempt to factorize, and then cross cancel, and then simplify after you cancel out what you can. Okay, let's see about this. The top cannot be factorized at all.
By the way, who put this pin? Oh.
Chrissy, I'm videotaping.
Sorry.
Okay. At least not for right now. I'm going to show you something we have to do. For right now, we're going to leave the top, but I'm going to show you in a minute something that we have to do. On the bottom, we're going to factor off a 2. Now notice, it would be really cool if we can cancel these two, but guess what? Y minus x is not the same as x minus y. Why is that? Well, is 3 minus 2 the same as 2 minus 3? No, it's not. So you can't exactly cross cancel those because they're not the same thing. So what are we going to do? Well, this is a little trick that that is really cool. Students often forget to do this, but hopefully y'all will remember. I'm going to go ahead and factor a -1 off the top. And when I do that, what happens is you are able to flip, you're able to flip the x and the y. It's really cool. It flips them. Isn't that awesome? Chrissy's smiling at me. Chrissy's smiling at me.
Talking to a wall.
Talking to a wall, yeah, but Christy knows all this, so that's why she's laughing anyway. She's a senior, she should know this, but anyway. So when you factor off a -1, it essentially flips that x and the y. It will work every time. I can illustrate why that is to you. I don't want to make it too complicated, but if you distribute this back on, it becomes a -x plus y, which is essentially what we have here. So just know, you don't necessarily need to understand fully why that is, but just know that when you factor a -1 off, it essentially just swaps the two terms. The sign in the middle will stay the same, and it swaps the two terms. So
it's for 6th graders.
No, it's not 6th grade, Christy. This is 9th grade, Christy.
On the camera?
It's actually, yeah, it's on camera. Actually, this is review. Hi. This is review for them, so anyway, but you're going to cancel this, and you're left with -1/2. Awful nice answer. This is a pretty nice answer. Okay, let's see. That's it for that one. And these are, I just love these because stuff goes away and you just wind up with this really simple answer. Like, who would have thought this was -1/2, really? So, I guess you can kind of tell looking at it, but anyhow. On the top of this fraction, always attempt to factorize first. Always, always, always. A lot of students start getting carried away and they start doing some strange stuff. They try to cancel like that. Don't ever do that. No, that's a big no-no. Don't ever do that. You can't do that. That's remember I talked about that in the other lesson. Because of this minus in the middle, you can't just cancel like that. It's like a big no-no. So don't do that. Always attempt to factorize first and then cancel. So let's see. We can factor off an xy on the top, and you're left with x. From this first term, we're left with x. And then write your minus sign that's in the middle. And from this term, we're left with the 2. And then, oh, look, we have that backwards again. See, these two are backwards. But that's okay. We know what to do now, right? Now, we can factor the -1 off the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter. I personally just prefer to factor it off like this because the 2 minus x just looks strange. Oh, it disconnected again. Why does it keep disconnecting? I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's weird. Anyway, as I was saying, to me, 2 minus x looks strange, so I'd just rather make it x minus 2. So I go ahead and factor the -1 off the bottom. So that's kind of just me. It's personal preference, really. You still should wind up with the same answer or something equivalent. So let's see. I'm going to factor off a -1 at the bottom, and then that essentially just flips the x and the 2. Oops, not y. The x and the 2. Essentially just flips them. This sign will stay in the middle, and you're going to swap the x and the 2. And then you're going to cross cancel, and xy divided by -1 is just negative xy. That's all that is. So we're done with that example. Let's see, the next one, I'm going to need the next page. These are just too long to put more than one example per page. We're getting close. At least example 11 is only one part. I'm doing these at home because I'm using my TV. I don't think that the projector is not as quite as bright as my TV, so I'm thinking this would come out better on the camera. Plus, there's way more distractions at school than there are here. So let's see. Alright, okay, this is a little bit, you have to kind of take your brain back about a month or however long it's been since we've done Law 3. But this is Law 3, or difference of two squares. It is a squared minus b squared is a plus b times a minus b. So that's from the factorizing chapter that we did. So remember, this is 2 squared. So oops, not too far. Okay, so this is going to be, on the top, it's going to be x plus 2 times x minus 2. And that is convenient. It'll always kind of work out that way. You'll start to notice a pattern with these. And you're left with that. Once again, your fractions are gone because your bottom is gone, so you have no more fraction. Let's see. On this b part, we're going to factor off a 2 on the top. We're left with a plus b over. Now this is, again, that's that difference of two squares, that Law 3. You'll notice with these types of problems, difference of squares, or I call it Law 3, is very common. You will see it all the time. I think I might have mentioned that when I was teaching it to you. It's a very common thing to see. You'll use it all the time. It's going to be your best friend. It's going to make life very easy for you, or much easier anyway. So we're left with just 2 on the top and a minus b at the bottom. And that is all we can do with that. That's as simplified as it gets anyway. Let's see if we can fit, I think we can fit example 11 maybe in this bottom without doing a new page. Let's see, it says simplify. And this is a quadratic trinomial. So we're going to have to use that factoring by hand, or whichever method is that you learned. And you know, I taught it a different way last year. Or if you have a tutor or something, you may have learned it in a different way. And I know the book did it in a slightly different way. Okay, so you're going to factor the top in whatever method that you prefer. This is how I do it. So you have x times x makes x squared, and then you got to make 6. So where are the factors of 6? Well, it's 6 times 1 and 3 times 2. If you recall, it's usually the factors that are closer together numerically that work. So I'm going to try those first. And you get 3x and 2x. We're trying to make positive 1. So it's going to be positive and negative. So it's going to be plus here and minus there. So let me backtrack all of that. Oops, not went too far. Okay, this was plus and this was minus. There we go. And then there's x plus 3 at the bottom. Notice there's an x plus 3 at the top and x plus 3 at the bottom. If you're trying to get help factorizing this thing, it's a pretty good indication. The fact that x plus 3 is at the bottom is a pretty good indication that one of these two factors is going to be x plus 3. That's just how they design these problems. So usually you're going to have that situation. So sorry about the Facebook notifications. So I didn't log out on my tablet, so there it goes. But anyway, So we're left with just x minus 2, and oops, just x minus 2. And there we go. And that is all you're left with. Again, your fraction's gone because this bottom, there's no more bottom, so this fraction's gone. So that's all you have is x minus 2. But anyway, that is the lesson 11B. And that is it. So you need to complete now. Should be Thursday. So you need to complete tonight for homework. Unless you want to do this over the break, you can. This is not due till sometime after the break, so you don't have to do it right now. But and I would normally say do it sooner rather than later, but I guess you could just rewatch the video. It's not like you don't have this on video if you need to. But just make sure you get it done, though. Don't wait till the last minute and not get it done, because you're going to have a test at some point after the break. We still have a few more lessons to cover, so but you don't want to get behind. That would be a problem. So you need to go ahead and complete exercise 11B.2, numbers 3 through 6. And if this is something you're already very familiar with and you understand it really well, and this is really just review for you, you may just, do the last couple of each set. So the last two of like number 3, the last two of number 4, the last two of number 5, and the last two of number 6. And that's probably fine. That's going to be most of you. There may be some of you who are either new to the school or new to the class, or maybe didn't learn this as well last year, and that's okay. If that's you, you definitely want to do more because you want to make sure that you're ready for the test. So again, make sure you're doing whatever's best for you and not worry about everybody else. So you should know your own comfort level by now, and just work out what you need to do, and make sure you get an A on that next test. That would be great if everybody got an A, because I know you guys can do it. You definitely can. All of you are capable of that, and all of you are really smart. So anyway, you just got to do your homework and ask questions. So if you have questions, speaking of questions, if you do have any questions for me, you're welcome to send me an email. I can try to work a problem for you and just send it to you. Sometimes it's all that's necessary. If you'd rather Skype, we may be able to do that. So there's a good chance I'll already be on Skype, so you can just check. If I'm not, you can send me an email. We can set up a time to do a Skype, just to kind of, if I need to explain something to you, I can certainly do that. So if you're watching this on Thursday, I should be pretty available, because I think I'm getting released from the hospital at around noon on Wednesday. So probably if you're watching this on Thursday, you're probably good trying to Skype me or ask me questions. So anyway, let me know, and I hope you all have an excellent Christmas holiday. Try to rest up, but also if you're behind in any of your classes, if you have any work that you could catch up on, it may be a good time to go ahead and catch up on any work that you're missing in other classes, not just mine, but other classes. So try to have a good balance between rest and catching up on work. And I will see you guys in the new year.